You've tuned into another edition of The Break Room, a weekly conversation about how the City of St. Augustine works from those who do the work every day. Hosted by the City of St. Augustine's Communications Director, Melissa Whistle, The Break Room offers a closer look at the different city departments and provides updates on current and upcoming projects and events. And now, your host, Melissa Whistle.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in. You're listening to The Break Room. I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. Downtown St. Augustine is home to a neighborhood known as Lincolnville, a mostly residential area tucked into the southwest peninsula of the nation's oldest city. It was founded just after the Civil War and was a staple location during the Civil Rights Movement. It has rich architecture, unique streetscape, fantastic residents, and is filled with history, with numerous can't-miss spots that interest both visitors and residents, such as the Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center, Dr. Robert B. Hailing Freedom Park, the Accord Freedom Trail. There's so much more over there. It's no wonder folks want to live and play in Lincolnville. But as this neighborhood continues to grow and evolve, it also needs improvements. Infrastructure, affordable housing, parking, improved roadways. How does Lincolnville manage it? And where does the funding come from for these improvements? Well, today in studio, I have someone who can answer those questions and tell us a little bit more. Allow me to introduce her first visit to the break room, Jaime Perkins, the city's CRA Administrator. Jaime, welcome to the break room.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you here. There's so much to talk about the CRA. And let me just tell you right now, if we get to the end and we need you to come back, we're going to have you come back because I think we have a lot of fun things to talk about.
I would love to come back. I would love that.
So CRA, LCRA, Lincolnville CRA, just tell us what it's all about.
So the CRA serves as two different acronyms. So C is, of course, Community Redevelopment Area or Community Redevelopment Agency. I am the Community Redevelopment Agency Administrator, which means that I focus on the entire agency of the City of St. Augustine. There are two separate areas within that agency. One is the Lincolnville Community Redevelopment Area, the one that is my main baby, so to speak, right now, and my main focus. And then we have the Historic Community Redevelopment Area, which is our downtown district and serves our parking garage. So
the park, and that one kind of sort of sustains itself. We don't do a whole lot with that anymore.
Right now it does, and and there are some futuristic ideas and plans for that area. But right now the parking garage is sustainable on its own. The funds that we get for the community redevelopment area that is the historic district, it kind of goes back to a debt service to pay for that garage.
Okay. Excellent. But your baby, like you said, really is Lincolnville CRA, LCRA, and there's a lot going on over there.
Yes. So the Lincolnville CRA is rich with, the Lincolnville area, I should say, it's rich with culture. And the CRA has been implemented to help kind of preserve some of that historic culture and some of the structures that are there, preserve the African-American history. And so that's kind of my job. My job is to work with residents within that area to determine what it is that they want to see as a redevelopment or development of that area and see those projects to fruition. So I work as a project manager, and we do community engagement, work with contractors, consultants, perform needs analysis, needs assessments, feasibility studies to determine what's the best way to redevelop the area.
But when you say redevelop, we're not talking tearing things down and putting in condos.
Right. So what the CRA does is it looks at the area and says what can be done to basically bring this area back to life. So there's blighted structures in Lincolnville. There may be historic structures that are in need of facade repairs or even something more significant like health and safety repairs. And we provide funding for those structures and for even capital improvements like sidewalks, roadways, things of that nature.
And residents can also benefit. It's not just the city-owned means,
Right.
rights of way or roads or streets or infrastructure, but also for the residents as well, homeowners.
Absolutely. So let me go back and just say there's three main components of the CRA.
Okay.
So one of the things is to retain long-term residents and preserve African American heritage. The second one is to preserve Lincolnville's historic character. And then the third is to conduct neighborhood improvements.
Okay.
The retain long-term residents and preserve African American heritage is where we tie in one of our main projects or programs, and that's our Fix It Up.
Okay.
And we allow residents to take funding, or we provide funding to them up to $20,000 for qualified residents to have repairs done to their homes. And we do that because we want people to stay in Lincolnville. With everything that has transpired in Lincolnville over the last 2 decades, about 20 years, there's a lot of changes to the people that used to live in that area. A lot of people were displaced because they weren't able to maintain their homes, maintain the tax payments.
And the hurricanes.
Did
a lot of damage.
Right. So when you have people in those areas who aren't able to keep their homes, a lot of times they might sell to the highest bidder or developer that comes in, or they might just let it go in a tax sale because they aren't able to pay the taxes and make repairs on the property. So what the city has decided to do is say, hey, we want to invest into those houses, inject some funding into these families and these qualified residents, and provide funding for them to have an opportunity to stay into their property. So $20,000 is the amount of the grant, and we go out, we partner with St. John's Housing Partnership, and we provide home repair services for residents in Lincolnville.
And they apply for that. There's criteria. You go online and you can fill that out.
There's a whole qualification process. St. John's Housing Partnership manages that aspect of the project or program. Excuse me. And they do our whole qualification process. And I kind of go out and I speak to the residents and ensure that they are, happy with the process. What is it that they really want to have done to their home? Ensure that it's something that manages the health and safety of their home. And of course, we provide facade treatments as well. So if there's something that they want to do to beautify their home, we provide that as well.
Excellent. And before we take a quick station identification moment, that is online, and let's just go ahead and plug the website, and that's citysaintaugscra.com.
Correct.
Is the website, and all that information is on the website. If you are just now tuning in, you're listening to The Break Room. I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. We're talking to Jaime Perkins today. She is the CRA Administrator for the City of St. Augustine, talking about the Lincolnville Community Redevelopment Area, Lincolnville CRA. So you're talking about the retaining the residents and preserving the heritage of that community. There's a lot of rich history over there. What are some of the other things that you're working on?
So I'm so excited because our inaugural program or project with the Institutional Rehabilitation Program, we're getting ready to kick off. We have contracted construction managers, landscape architects, and architect designs to work with First Baptist Church and St. Paul AME to do some really sustainable work to their structures, re-roofing, full out rehabs to the interior of First Baptist. So they're very large projects, but they're needed because those structures are very significant to the rich culture in Lincolnville.
And that's so we went from residents, that's institutional. So that's businesses or schools, churches?
So not necessarily businesses.
Okay.
I am working on trying to develop a program that could assist commercial development. However, right now we're focusing on our plan. So with the CRA, you develop a plan initially to say, this is what we think we need to work on. These are some of the items that are of great significance to this area. And then in 2017, the city went back and said, okay, we need a more defined scope. Like, what is it that we're really trying to do? So from that plan amendment, we came up with the three main components, which I mentioned earlier, which is the preservation of Lincolnville's historic character, conducting the neighborhood improvements, and retaining long-term residents. So with that is where the programs were derived from. And what we do with the institutional rehab is preserve Lincolnville's historic character.
Right, right.
So that's how we do that. So the commercial development part of it, businesses themselves would not necessarily qualify to be a part of the institutional rehab, but any institution that is or any structure that is owned by an institution would qualify to be a part of that program. They would have to submit an application. We accept applications between October 1st and December 31st of each year. And then we go through an application review process. Our application review committee meets in a public hearing, and we discuss those applications, and then they're approved based off of the criteria if they meet those criteria on our evaluation sheets.
Great. And this is something that has been since you have come to the city, you have really taken this and brought it to life. I think the CRA in and of itself had gotten a little bit inactive, if you will, or it was.
I thank you for saying that, Melissa. I don't want to take too much credit because the CRA has been functioning. I only came to the city in September, so I just made my 6 months. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. But the city they had implemented, or should I say they had started planning. I walked in to an office full of paperwork and ideas. And my job, I think, from this point is to implement those things and actually see them to fruition. So what I've been trying to stress to our residents and our steering committee, because a lot of people, they want to continue to give ideas. This is what we should do. But I want to get away from the planning stage and actually get into implementation. I feel that if we continue to just kind of talk about things, we'll just be talking forever.
Sure.
We have money in the budget. Let's spend it on some things that are meaningful. I've also been trying to encourage residents to understand that, development and redevelopment is going to happen in Lincolnville. My job is to make sure that it happens in a meaningful way.
Right. And like you said, there had been a lot of ideas and a lot of talk. And even in my time of being here, it's a big undertaking. And so the fact that we had other staff trying to manage these ideas and implementing these things within the confines of what they are already doing with their other responsibilities, I think it's a fantastic addition to our staff to have you where this is your focus and this is all that you do.
Right.
And you really give that neighborhood the attention and time it deserves.
Absolutely. I think the city made a wonderful decision to bring somebody on full time to manage the CRA in the Lincolnville community redevelopment area. It is a huge job. It's a lot of work. It's not just, me sitting at a computer all day. I'm doing site visits. I'm out in the community. I'm taking pictures. I'm managing flooding and mitigation. And, there's lots of things that go into the role. And anybody that has other tasks, this is not something that they could do in connection to, or, to something else. There are other tasks at hand. They definitely need someone that can just completely focus on the redevelopment areas.
And you have gotten out into the community. You were out at the farmers market last weekend. You're meeting the neighbors. It's beautiful to see that. How did that go?
I had so much fun, Melissa. When it was the most beautiful day in February, I have to say it was so nice. It was warm enough and breezy. And I met so many residents, some of them that already knew me that I actually did not know, but I got an opportunity to meet on Saturday. And we chatted. We talked about some of our projects that are upcoming with the streetscape. And I was able to just give them a lot of information. And I absolutely love just being right in the presence of the people, because I think as people who work in government, it's our job. That's our responsibility to be out in the community and talking to people about what it is that they want to see happen in their community. It's their neighborhood.
And for them to feel like there's someone at the city listening who's going to take those ideas back and make a change.
Exactly.
Wonderful. I hate to say it, but we are out of time.
Whoa.
So we are going to have you come back because I feel like we still had some more things for you to share and talk about what's going on in Lincolnville, your community outreach, and also what is happening and what is next. What are some of those things? So I want to hear about that. And thank you for stopping by the break room this week.
Thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate it.
As we wrap up another edition of the break room, I hope we answered your questions about Lincolnville and the CRA. If we didn't, take a minute to drop an email to info@citysanog.com. We want to keep you informed about what's happening in and around the city, and most importantly, that you hear it from the people doing the work and making it happen every day. Be sure to stay connected with us on any of our social media platforms. You'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City St. Aug. You'll also find us on Nextdoor. And you want to make sure to check out the CRA website at citystaugcra.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to The Break Room, a weekly program addressing projects and programs offered by the City of St. Augustine. Join us each week as the city's communications director, Melissa Wissel, has in-depth conversations with the people who make our town work to meet the needs of our community. The Break Room is produced by communications specialist for the City of St. Augustine, Cindy Walker, and engineered by Flagler College communication major, Lily McNeil. See you at this time next week for another edition of The Break Room.